Okay, so first of all, I work for Nexus, which is not the same as she said, but it's okay, don't worry. So, okay, here we go. First of all, thanks a lot for being here today. My name is Miguel Balparda, and as I just told you, I work for Nexus. For the last couple of years, I have been traveling a lot around the globe, working on some of the biggest Magento projects. And well, I have been awarded as Magento Master last year in the Mega category for my contributions and for actively engaging with other members of the community. I'm a Magento Certified Solution Specialist and a sysadmin in my free time. And this year I was given write permission in the Magento 2 GitHub repo, which means you can actually ping me if you need anything, if you have a bug open or if you have a pull request open in the official Magento 2 GitHub repo, and I will do my best to merge it. This is a really interesting initiative. In a couple of days in the UK, there's a Magento contribution day being organized by Magento itself, which is quite interesting. We did the same a couple of weeks ago in Sweden. I think that was Sweden. I'm not that sure. But yeah, it's quite interesting. You get to work with the Magento architects, which is quite interesting. You get to know Max, Eugene, and the rest of the guys working on that. And you can actually contribute to the core, even edit the core, which is not that common in these days. And beyond that, today I'm going to try to explain you how the new CLI thing is supposed to be working. It's quite interesting because I think you all remember what we used to have in Magento 2, those shell folders, and that was not quite easy to use, not that extensible. So today I'm going to try to explain you how the Vim Magento tool works and what you can do with it, and actually how to integrate this in your everyday workflow. Now, the main idea here is for any developer to be able to use all this in their tasks they do every day, like reindexing, cleaning caches, changing modes, and stuff like that. But there are also other operations, and I will try to actually show you how to create your own module today, or your own command, which is quite useful. I did that in Sweden the other day, and I actually submitted a pull request you can see online. It's already merged in the development branch. So let's get it started. Right now, as you can see here, I'm really sorry for the slides. These are not mine, but I think you can see that from behind. As you can see in here, this is pretty straightforward. It's PHP bin/Magento list. This has to be run from the root folder of your installation, or you can do that on the bin folder. Basically, what the list command is going to show us is a complete list of all the available commands, the version, and a couple of interesting options we all have for all the commands. So the usage is always the same. Is command option arguments. Common options for all the commands are help, quiet, verbose, and no interaction. Help is going to show us how a command is supposed to be working. I'm going to show you that in a second. Quiet is not going to output any message. This is useful for CI things like Travis or Jenkins, where you don't want to see the output. And then the verbosity is how verbose the logs are. V, VV, or VVV. That will depend on you and on your needs. And the last one is no interaction, which is not the same as always answer no. When you add the -n option, the default value will be taken into consideration. And that means, for example, let's say the default value for a question is yes. That means that question is going to be answered with a yes if the command line interface is going to ask you something. But that doesn't mean it's always yes or always no. It means the default option. You are going to see why in a second. Now, all the commands we are going to be seeing today will have a group, a not mandatory subject, and an action. For example, setup is a group, config is a subject, which is actually a subgroup where you can actually try to put all the things that look equal together. And the last one is the action, which is the actual action. So, for example, setup, config, delete, or setup, install are both actually correct commands to use. Now, this is the first command of the day. As you can see, I just tried to install a regular Magento 2 install. That's what we do at Nexus when people ask us to actually install development environments. It's quite easy, but you can tell what does the option mean, because I don't know, session minus session minus save. I don't know what that means. I have no idea actually. Minus DB model? No. But if you just do something like minus help on this command, that will show you the usage and the options. On the left side, you're going to be seeing the options. On the right side, you're going to be seeing a small description. Let's say you don't know what --admin user means. I can tell you it's a required field, and it's actually the admin user you need to use to create that. Now, let's go back a second to this slide. As you can see, I couldn't install this because I had an error. The errors are really good at this time. They are actually quite well explained, in my opinion. Right now, the error was quite easy. I was using an incorrect admin and user and password combination for the database I was using, so I couldn't actually connect to the database. Now, let's say you're working right now on a development side and you have all your caches enabled, and you need to see how do those caches look like. Now, right now, you can do PHP bin/Magento cache status, and you will see all the status available on the left side. On the left side, you are going to be seeing actually the internal representation or the internal number we're going to be using. This is important for the next command, so keep that in mind. And on the right side, you're going to be seeing a 1 or a 0. 1 means enabled, 0 means disabled. It's always the same. So let's say you want to flash the caches, or you want to clean it. I'm going to be explaining the difference in just a second, so bear with me. Now, let's say you do PHP bin/Magento cache flash without passing any extra arguments, parameters, options, any way you want to call it. And then you're going to be flushing all the cache types available, not the disabled ones, but all the availables, all the ones that are enabled, sorry. Now, let's say you just want to flash the config cache, you can do PHP bin/Magento cache flash space config, and only the config cache is going to be flashed. The same is going to be true for clean. You can clean all the caches at once or just one. It's pretty much the same. And this is the difference between clean and flash. Clean basically uses all the available Magento caches, and flash is also going to flash the external processes, which can actually affect other software. So let's say that can be memcache, varnish, redis, anything you're using. This is going to be clean with the flash command and not with the clean command, so that's the main difference between these two. Also keep in mind the disabled cache types are not going to be flushed, so that might be a problem for some of you, but just keep that in mind. Now, let's say you want to enable or disable a cache in particular. Let's say actually you are working on a feature. Let's say you are working on some translations. In that case, you should only leave enabled the cache types you need and not all of them, because, well, you actually need to see the change you just did right now or right after you did it. So let's say you want to disable the translate and the database DDL cache. You can do it like that. And if you need to enable that again, well, it's pretty much the same, but the other way around. So I got this advice not long ago from GC, from Gyreo. It's actually quite interesting because, and it's quite smart too. Just disable the cache types you don't need while developing. Let's say you are developing some front-end stuff or some translation stuff, leave all the other caches enabled. That will speed up your development environment a lot, and you will see your changes immediately. Now, yeah, that's okay. One thing we usually see a lot at Nexus too is that from time to time we need to actually enter the admin interface from many customers we have, and they're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to give you the admin user and the admin password, and we're like, yeah, if we don't give me that, I won't be able to enter your admin. So right now, with this new Magento 2, the new winMagento feature, you can actually create an admin user from the CLI. It's quite easy. You have to pass a couple of parameters, and you can actually edit that too. That's not that easy, but the parameters or the options are admin user, admin password, email, first name and last name. Right now I created this new admin user and this password. This user was actually created, and after a couple of login tries, you will have a logged account. You can unlock it with PHP bin/Magento admin user unlock and pass the admin user you want to unlock. Right now this user was not logged, so that's what this message is saying. The user account new admin was not locked or could not be unlocked. That means this user was okay. So let's say we want to edit this user. There is not a standalone command to do this, but you can actually do the same with the create command. You just need to pass the exact same arguments you pass to the creation of the user. So I tried to do that here, and it said last name and first name were mandatory. And then I did the same, but the new password was not strong enough. And then I tried to do the same with a really strong password. It's not that strong, I know. And then I was able to edit this user. This message is not actually correct. Create Magento administration username new admin. That's actually an edition of the user I created before in here. So by doing this, you can actually create the password. Here I use this password, and then I changed it to this password. It's the same user, but there's no edit command. So if you come to any contribution day, you can actually go ahead and create a pull request to create this command. It shouldn't be that hard, and maybe I will do this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. Now, another interesting thing is the indexers. From time to time, you need to create your own indexes. And if they don't appear here when you do a PHP bin Magento indexer info, that probably means the indexers are not, the index you create is not working. So on the left side again, we are going to be seeing the internal representation, which is the one we are going to be using to enable and to reindex the index we need. And then we can do indexer status to see the current status of the index. There are only two options, ready and reindex required. Just like we did in the cache section, we can do the same with the indexer reindex option command and reveal the entire indexes or reindex just one. So we can do php bin/magento indexer reindex and let's say customer underscore grid. And that's going to be reindexing under the customer underscore grid index and not all the other ones. Now, there are two ways to update the indexers, which is update on save or update on schedule. Update on save is quite easy to understand. It's actually an update when the product or category or anything with that index is saved, the index will be reindexed, or the update by schedule, which means the cron is going to be using that. Now, we can actually change this mode. We can do something like index set mode, schedule or save, and the index we want to change. Right now, I changed the catalog product category index to update by schedule, which means the cron is going to be handling that. So this is pretty straightforward too. Now, you remember the Magento admin screen we used to have in system configuration advanced, or something like that in Magento 1. Now we can see the same on the CLI. Let's say you created a module and you install it and you don't know why it's not working. You can just go ahead and do this. PHP bin/Magento module status. And in here, you're going to be seeing on the enable and disable modules Magento is seeing. So if you don't see your module here, it probably means something's broken, an XML file, the declaration of the module, the registration, something like that. And if you do see your module here, well, it means it's being recognized by Magento. Now, for this talk, I actually asked Inco, you probably know them from Croatia. I actually asked them to use their module. They created a really interesting module to play a little bit with the CLI tools. This is pretty easy, and then once you install that, or you include that with Composer, you actually need to enable the module, which is PHP bin/Magento module enable, and the complete module name, in this case is inco_console. And right after that, you are going to be requested to run PHP bin/Magento setup upgrade, which is actually going to upgrade our database schema, the database information, and all that stuff we used to have in Magento 1, where we didn't know when that happened. You remember when we used to install a module in Magento 1, we needed to actually refresh the page for the data installers to run or something like that. Now we can do that right here, just like this. And well, my module didn't have any database interactions, but if you have your module interacting with your database, creating schemas or inserting information, this is what you need to do after you create or install your module. Now, another interesting thing we usually see at Nexus is the maintenance mode. From time to time, our customers ask us actually to put their site in maintenance, but they also want their developers to see the site no matter if it's in maintenance mode. So right now we can actually see the maintenance mode status. It's PHP bin/Magento maintenance status, and this is going to tell us if the site is in maintenance mode or not, and the list of exempt IPs. This is quite interesting and really easy to use. You need to actually add a couple of IPs with a -- IP. You can add as many as you want, and this is going to create a list of the exempted IPs you can actually bypass the 503 error with. So right now, as you can see, I enabled the maintenance mode with only these two IPs, which means these two IPs can bypass the 503 error, and then the status will be active right now. Now I can actually just go ahead and disable this, and the list is still gonna be there. This is quite useful if you ask me, because next time I'm enabling this, the same IPs are gonna be allowed to go into the site. So right now, this is disabled right here, and right here, I try to add some other IPs to that list. This is actually a validation. This IP is not valid, and this message is saying that. And then with the allow IPs command, maintenance allow IPs command, I can actually create another list. The lists are not going to be merged, but changed. That's why I used two different IP here, and the complete list is new. But beyond that, beyond the fact that the allow IP and the minus minus IP are not compatible, the rest is quite easy to understand, I think. Now, there are some new things in Magento 2. I think most of you already know that. But one interesting feature, or I don't know how to call it, is the modes, the Magento 2 modes. Right now we have 3 modes: developer, default, and production. With this command, you can actually see which mode your star is running. This can be overridden by environment variables, but please keep in mind you always need to be running production mode when running a lib site. We see a lot of sites running in developer mode, in default mode, in Magento 2, and that's quite slow if you ask me. I'm going to explain why it's slow, but trust me, you need to run your stores using production mode if the site is live, if the site is online. Right now, let's say I want to change the deploy mode to developer. Let's say I'm developing something. I can do php bin/magento deploy mode set, and then developer, which is the internal representation of the developer mode. This is going to change to developer real quick, and then I will try to change that again to production mode. This is where the fun begins. Actually, the production mode is really fast because it compiles stuff, it deploys the static files to the pub static directory. So that's why I'm telling you to use this mode. Now, default mode, don't use it. We've seen a lot of issues with this. I'm not sure why. It should probably be deprecated, and this is the default mode Magento ships with. But I don't know, we've seen a lot of issues we couldn't actually debug, so we are actually telling people to use developer mode or production mode. It will depend a lot on your needs, but it's basically what the name says. The developer mode is showing us the errors, and not writing those to the logs, which can actually expose us or expose our information to our customers. Something like the database schema, from time to time we get the server paths. So it's not that good for production, and it's really good for development. So that's why you should be using this while developing, and this while the site is live. So as I just told you, the static view files are deployed to the pub static directory, the compilation is enabled, some headers are actually hidden, and the exceptions are not displayed to the user. This is probably the most important thing, because we don't want our users to see those really weird messages we as developers see. They are going to freak out, and we don't want that. We don't want them to have any problems, so we can just show them, I don't know, something went wrong, and that's it. Now, this is what I just told you. Another thing, or well, probably the last command I'm going to be showing you today is the setup backup, which is actually a built-in backup tool Magento 2 has now. This is quite interesting to use for automatization of backups. You can actually create a backup from the CLI. You can create 3 types of different backups: a database backup, a media backup, and a code backup. Or you can just go ahead and combine the 3. Now, the backups are going to be saved in the var backups directory. This is probably a security problem, because those files are not accessible from the internet. There's an HT access right now on that folder, but I think you know what I mean. You don't want to have your code or your database sitting in an internet available or accessible directory. Now, let's say you want to do a code backup. You can do php bin/magento setup backup minus code. As I just told you, you can do code, media, and database, and the Magento init params. This was explained the other day on the Magento 2.2 webinar. But yeah, let's say you created the backup over here. The archive was created in this directory, the var backup, and it's actually a timestamp underscore file system underscore code TGC. You can actually check that over here, info backup list. This is going to give us a complete list of all the available backups we have. And let's say we want to roll back a backup. This is pretty simple too. I have these permission issues, but it's setup rollback minus code minus file and the complete file name we just created. And this is going to roll back our entire code to the state it was before. Now, this didn't work for me. That was a permission issue. We got that a lot. But the entire code base was there, so don't be afraid. Your code is there. And one thing I almost always try to say is that you actually need to understand, like fully understand, the backup policies your hosting provider have. And if you don't have a hosting provider, well, you should probably be creating your own backup strategies. But it's always important to have one because, let's say, things go south, which happens quite a lot, and you don't know where your backup is, you don't know what your backup contains, or you don't know which one is your latest backup, so that's not going to end well, and you know it. So always keep in mind you need a backup. Why you need it, it's not that important, you just need it. So now, this is the last part of the talk. I actually asked Kinko, as I told you, how to create a command. This is pretty easy. We actually use DI to inject our commands, and we only use two methods, the configure and the execute. Now, after that, we need to enable the module, do the setup upgrade, and then we can just go ahead and start using our own module. Now, this right here will be the di.xml file of our own module. This is going to be telling this class, the Magento Framework console command list, what are we going to be sending them. This is actually an array called command, and this is the class that is going to be injected in this class. Now, don't be afraid, this is quite simple actually. This is the Magento class. I just told you, this is actually expecting an array of commands, just like I said here, an array of commands. So we are just passing this file, the class we are going to be using, and this is the class we are going to be using actually, sorry. This class has only two methods, the configure and the execute one. The configure has the name, like set name, set description, and the execute is where all the business logic is going to be living actually. Right now I'm only printing a line, but you can check this on the GitHub repo. There are a lot of things to be done on the CLI, and this is pretty much it actually. It's not that hard to use, it's not that hard to actually code, so if you ever need to create a command, you can just go ahead and do it. There are also other tools like the mage run commands, the set of commands. This is actually quite old. A lot of people is using that. This talk is not about that, but I always try to recommend that other option because this one is not for everyone. And if you were already using the mage run tools, that's also working in Magento too. So it's up to you. Now, this is all I have for now. If you have any questions, this is the time. I will be here tonight. So you can show me the city if you want, the beers and all that stuff you have. So thanks. Questions? One question I get a lot actually is how to interact with the front-end development and all this. So that's that's really easy. I wouldn't get a front-end developer SSH keys or something like that, but from time to time they need to enable and disable the databases, the caches, sorry. So yeah, I think you get the point.
Hello, my name is Milan. We really use a lot of your services since we also work with Magento too. And actually we have one common problem that happens with all Magento 2 sites that we develop and push to your servers. And actually it's pretty annoying, and we spend a lot of time with your support via phone and similar. Actual issue, I know, actual issues is mod secure, that every Magento 2 that we deploy on your server triggers on, and we literally spend time with your support where...
You are talking about mod security. You are talking about mod security, right?
Yes, yes. So, for example, recently we have a quite strange situation where customer had a trademark symbol in product title and couldn't save that product for hours. And he was calling us, swearing that he is doing everything fine, that he was already familiar with Magento 1, and we migrate to Magento 2, and that they are all in office doing things right. However, they couldn't save a product for hours, and actually we finally find out with your support that such thing triggers mod secure, and that they need to add a rule to be able to save product. And actually the very same thing happened again on another Magento 2 site. In that case, we had in category, we had a custom layout in XML format, and that also triggers mod secure. And we had similar things with some other sites. So my question is, when we tell client to buy a hosting from an Access, and they announce that we will use Magento 2. As far as I know, in most cases we get a pre-installed Magento. So I presume that already server is set up for Magento 2 environment. And now my interest is why that happened? Why Magento 2 triggers so much mod secure? Is it something that you pre-set up for clients' own safety and website safety, or is it something just because Magento 2 is new, and how time's gone that things will change?
So that's what we call a false positive. That's actually something like that looks really, really bad, but it's actually just something really, really simple. There's a really fine line between doing security and I don't know, letting things pass like this. So I can understand why this is a problem, but I'm not that sure if there's a solution. I can't tell if this is a problem or not, because from time to time we actually get real alerts, and from time to time you will get real alerts. So it will depend a lot on how much do you care about security, because a couple of false positives is not as bad as one real positive not being taken into consideration. Let's say I completely disable the mod security for you, or let's say I add a couple of rules, which is what we do actually, to the mod security rules for your site, and when we do that, you have a hack. You won't be happy at all. You will be telling me, hey, we had a hack right after you disabled the mod security for us. Why would you do that? And I will be like, that's why you told me to do it. So I understand the problem. I think in this someplace else too, it's actually quite common at Nexus. So we are trying to create a complete rule set for all the Magento 2 installs we have, but it's not that easy, because from time to time the actual inputs are the ones that are causing the problems. So let's say you actually do a MySQL injection or something like that, and you write that on the input. That's going to be a false positive, because it's not going to be doing anything, but we will want to catch that actually. So it's pretty tricky. The mod security thing is tricky. We are working on that for sure. We actually have a really big rule set, but we can't apply that company-wide, because what's not important for you, that might be important for someone else. So let's say you move servers and you have the same problem, and we'll be like, really, this again? I'm the same customer having the same issue, but just in another server. This is crazy. I'm really sorry about that, actually. I'm going to try to talk with the support guys and the support managers about this, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, the explanation is that mod security is hard. Any other questions?
Thank you for your answer. I am quite sure that you will be able to resolve that. And in general, we are very happy with your company and your support.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Any other questions? No? We'll have the entire day, so don't worry.
Okay, Miguel, thank you for your time. Again, we are very glad that you are here, and this is something for you.
This really looks like me. Right now,
I would like my papers back.
I got a haircut the other day, but this is actually me, you know? Thanks a lot.